Hey Radhanath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Radhanath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from the Govardhan Eco Village in beautiful Maharashtra, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Radhanath and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everyone. It's Fridays. It's Thursdays. Study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's Thursday. Thursdays, study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're here live with Tara and Mara. And that's it today.
I'm here.
And you're here. Well, I mean, we're here.
Okay.
We're here with them. You're all blown out today with the light today.
I don't know why.
It's mysterious. I'm still a little jet lagged. I had some mosquitoes in my room driving me insane last night.
Good thing you got the nets now.
I got the mosquito nets. I'm very excited. What's going on with you?
Did a tour of the Eco Village with the people today.
That was nice.
Very nice.
That was nice.
This project, every time you just poke a little here or there, you find out they're doing other incredible things that are completely mind-blowing. Like today we took a group, I took them around. It was only a short tour. I was about an hour and a half, which means you can only touch it a little bit. And they took us into where they have the compost, and they do the composting with the cow dung, and they develop this fertilizer out of it. And then they said that there's 70 villages around this eco village. And you know, like big kind of industries have created huge problems with Indian farming. You know, it's led to being farmer suicide, like being a huge issue. But you know, they all use pesticides, chemical fertilizers.
Right.
And they developed here, they don't use any chemical fertilizers, and they use this whole system of developing this compost from the cow dung. And then they go around and they share this with the neighboring villages. And they're afraid that if we don't make money selling this organic food, then the whole thing collapses.
Right.
You know? And it was funny because Tara told me that he recently met a man who was a farmer. And he said he was racked with guilt that he was feeding people poisonous food that causes cancer.
Wow.
And and he tried to go organic. And in the first year, he didn't make enough money. And his family was begging him, please just go back. And now he's back and selling this toxic food and living a life racked with guilt about it.
Right.
So what they said here, I never knew. They said that in these 70 villages around here, all the different farmers, they approach them and they encourage them to learn how to create this compost and use this compost and not use any of the chemicals. And of course, their concern is we won't make enough money. And so the Govardhan Eco Village says for the first year, if you don't make money, we will cover your loss.
Wow.
Right. For just out of the goodness of their hearts.
No,
they're
making a hospital for the villages too.
They do so many things.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So it's just, it's hard to put into words how special this entire project is.
Yeah. No one could even imagine.
Yeah.
What it's growing into. I feel like we were there from the ground floor, but we still didn't understand the bigger vision of it.
I don't know if honestly, I don't know if anyone fully understood. I think
Right.
but once Radhanath Swami's vision got off and started to snowball, it can just it seems like it can just keep expanding in so many different ways from,
Mm.
like you're saying, building a hospital for the local people, helping local people learn how to um it, market their crafts, helping them harvest the water, helping them farm, helping it's so many things, giving them all different types of education. It just yeah, it just seems to go on and on.
It's a perfect example of what we were saying yesterday, how like you really want to change the world in Vaishnavism or in with our spiritual life, we work on ourself. And how does that manifest? Well, it depends. With a person's karma like Radhanath Swami, where he's meant to do big things in this world, perhaps if he was, it's hard to even imagine him as a materialist, but he'd probably be maybe doing some big material project. But because it's manifesting through his spiritual desires, it's just a massive, overwhelming, beautiful spiritual thing.
Yeah.
His internal work has been his internal work is manifesting outwardly towards the world and actually changing the world.
Yeah.
And really making huge shifts in the world. I mean, that goes against everything. These pesticide companies, they're like big pharma, you know?
Yeah.
They have a lot of like power. And when the people just get together, say, yeah, thanks for offering. We're going to grow our own stuff.
You know, it was really, what was that one company that everyone,
Monsanto.
yeah, Monsanto, I think
they got a grip on these guys.
Largely responsible for that. And you know, this project, it's not exactly like a self-sufficient farm community. It's self-sufficient in many ways, but it's not like entirely off the grid or anything like that. You know, they get a large portion of their energy comes from either solar power here, or it comes from biogas here. You know, they have a lot going on in that, but it's not like it's an entirely self-sufficient community. But that's not exactly what it's designed to be. It's designed to show models of how to improve things and demonstrate how they work, and then share them with other people. And they're doing it very effectively. You know, whether it be with natural alternatives to pesticides or to fertilizers, or how to harvest the water, or on so many levels, just on so many, it just keeps expanding, and it's really working.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots going on. A lot of cool people here. We just sort of like met everybody from the group today. We sort of introduced ourselves to each other, and we have just like a stellar international group: Australians, Swiss, Germans, you know, lots of Americans, UK, Italy, Belgium. Yeah, it's very cool.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right. You have something you want to share today? Oh, Miss Mara's got some announcements. Sure. Hi, Mara. Poke on in here.
Thanks. We have Bhakti recovery group meetings today at noon and 1:30 Eastern time. Tomorrow, we have to cancel tomorrow's show. We have a special program going on here. But there is still the Cult of Cain asana class for our Patreon members at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Right.
Shout out to the Patreon members. Thanks for supporting us. Community supported podcast. It exists from you guys. This whole podcast exists because you guys desire it. Go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages, and you can help us with any monthly pledge of your desire. We appreciate it. Costuba, you got some interesting story you want to share.
Well, you know, it's a little bit related, kind of like today's nugget.
It's a nugget story.
But it's in the form of a story, and it's something a lot of people I'd heard about it before, but I just recently came across it again and looked into it in more detail. But we were reading yesterday from Thomas Merton, and he was sharing a message there that, in a sense, we all think we want peace, but commonly there are certain attachments that we have that mean that even when we think we're living a individually peaceful lifestyle, a lot of our habits necessitate a certain type of violence that manifests in the world in one way or another. And so he was kind of challenging us to kind of dig deeper into that, and not to rather than lash out at others that we see as, he used the term warmongers, to look within oneself and see what's inside oneself that needs to be rooted out first, right? Okay. So this was similar to that. I thought this was similar to that in the sense that when we see something, some manifestation of hate in the world, um, one simple reaction is just to call it out, identify it, yell about it, post stuff on our social media about it, and so on.
Sure.
One can question how really effective that is. This is a story about someone that just said, let me see what I can do. He just took it on another level. And so I'll read a bit. What I'm reading is from an NPR article or story, I guess, and article. If I can get this, 1 second. Sorry about this. I don't know. This is a brand new computer that I'm borrowing. I may not be able to get this. I may just have to tell this story without. Oh, let me try one more thing. You go ahead. Talk about something.
Okay, something. Boy, man. Pouring oil in your belly button. What was that? I've got full blessings from Costu to talk
Okay.
whatever I want.
I got it.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
over.
Yeah, that's gone. Now I just had to find it and pull it up. Okay, here we go. So this is about a gentleman, named Daryl Davis. And the story was entitled "How One Man Convinced 200 Ku Klux Klan Members to Give Up Their Robes." So Darren Davis is a blues musician, and he always has. And well, I'll read from the article. Daryl Davis is a blues musician, but he always has what some might call an interesting hobby. For the past 30 years, Davis, a black man, has spent time befriending members of the Ku Klux Klan, which sounds almost, I don't know, impossible.
It sounds like you just can't.
Yeah.
They're locked in to a persona that makes them an unmovable force. They're cemented into an identity.
So rather than just lash out at them, he decided to befriend them, which is an interesting way to go about it. He says, once the friendship blossoms, the Klansmen realize that their hate may be misguided. Since David started talking with these members, he says 200 Klansmen have given up their robes. When that happens, Davis collects the robes and keeps them in his home as a reminder of the dent that he has made on racism by simply sitting down and having dinner with people.
I like this.
Okay. So
dinner with the Klan.
Yeah, he describes how it came about, like how he got started at this. And he's a musician. He was playing at plays piano and playing in some bar. And after he was done playing, some guy came up to him and said, "Well, you play pretty good piano there. I never seen a black guy play piano like that. I was just like Jerry Lee Lewis."
Right.
And he was kind of like, "Well, Jerry Lee Lewis kind of got it from, from whoever, Bo Diddley or whoever, not Bo Diddley, but whoever it was, Little Richard, Fats Domino, people like that." And this guy was like, I don't know about that. And so they had a disagreement about that. But it just led to them kind of sitting down and talking. And at a certain point in the conversation, the Ku Klux Klan member, this guy said to him, I've never really sat down and had a drink and talk with a black man before. And the guy's like, really? Well, why not? And then his friend was kind of nudging him, say, tell him. He said, well, I'm a member of the Ku Klux Klan. And when he first heard, I'll read, this is how he responded to it. He said, his reaction to that was, I just burst out laughing because I really didn't believe him. I thought he was pulling my leg. And as I was laughing, he pulled out his wallet, flipped through his credit cards and pictures and produced his Klan card and handed it to me. Immediately, I stopped laughing. I recognized the logo on there, the Klan symbol, and I realized this was for real. This guy wasn't joking. And now I'm wondering, why am I sitting by a Klansman? But he was very friendly. It was the music that brought us together. He wanted me to call him and let him know any time that I returned to this bar with his band. The fact that a Klansman, a black person, could sit down at the same table and enjoy the same music, that was a seed planted. He said that was a seed planted. So what do you do when you plant a seed? You nourish it. That was the impetus for me to write a book. I decided to go around the country and sit down with Klan leaders and Klan members to find out, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? So it's just, it's a kind of thing to take 200 members of the Ku Klux Klan and get them to reconsider the whole way that really, I don't know any Klans members, but I assume that when you are one, it's kind of like a large part of your identity,
Sure.
you know, and to get someone to let go of a large part of their identity, it's not something that's very
It's
easy
like
to
a
do.
conversion.
Well, this is the way he describes it. It's interesting to use that word. He said he describes how it happened with like the first guy. Hey, everybody. Got some guests coming in here. So he says it's like this. He said that he was driving in a car with one of them, and uh he said the guy said to him, "Well, we all know that all black people have within them a gene which makes them violent."
Hmm.
And he was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" Like, I'm not violent at all. I've never committed any kind of violent crime or anything like that. And he said, "Well, then that just means it's like latent in you, but it comes out sooner or later." Um, so I said, he said, "So how do you argue with somebody who is that far out in left field?"
Mm.
Right. A lot of people would just give up at that point.
Right.
He said, "How do you argue with someone like that?" He says, "I was dumbfounded. I'm just driving along and he's sitting there all smug and secure, like, see, you have no response." And I thought about it for a minute, and then I used his point of reference and I said, "Well, we all know that all white people have a gene within them that makes them a serial killer." And he says, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, name me 3 black serial killers." And he thought about it and he couldn't do it. And he said, so I said Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson, John Wayne Gracie, all whites.
He's got a like. I have a latent gene.
So he said, so he said, so I said, "Son, you are a serial killer." And he says, "Daryl, I never killed anybody." And I said, "Yeah, but your gene is latent. It hasn't come out yet." And he goes, "Well, that's stupid." And I said, "Well, yeah, but you know what? You're right. It is stupid. But what I said was stupid, but no more stupid than what you said about me." And he said, then he got very, very quiet and changed the subject. 5 months later, based on that conversation, he left the Klan. His robe was the first robe I ever got.
Wow.
Right. So when he's talking about this, and you use the word conversion, he says it's like this. He says, the best thing you can do is study up on the subject as much as you can. I went in armed, not with a weapon, but with knowledge. I knew as much about the Klan, if not more than many of the Klan people that I interviewed. That's interesting. Let's try to understand how they came to this. Yeah.
Why,
Yeah.
were they attacked themselves?
Some emotional
Yeah, an
reason.
emotional attachment to being adopting that.
Yeah. So he said, when they see that you know about their organization, their belief system, they respect you.
Mm.
Whether they like you or not, they respect the fact that you've done your homework. Just like any good salesman, you want a return visit. And they recognize that I'd done my homework, which allowed me to come back again. That began to chip away at their ideology. Because when 2 enemies are talking, they're not fighting. It's when the talking ceases that the ground becomes fertile for violence. If you spend 5 minutes with your worst enemy, it doesn't have to be about race. It could be about anything. You'll find that you both have something in common. As you build upon those commonalities, you're forming a relationship. And as you build about that relationship, you're forming a friendship. That's what would happen. I didn't convert anybody. They saw the light and converted themselves. And so I think, there's so many different responses and so many different valid responses, but I think to a large degree, due to the nature of the whole social media, phenomenon that we're living in, that no society's ever lived in before in history, we feel a pressure to represent ourselves, to present ourselves as virtuous. And we think that the formula for that is to lash out where injustice is. And we're all doing that more and more and going back and forth at each other. And it gets to the point where we're so confused, we don't even understand what's just and unjust half the time anymore. But we feel it's important to lash out, and it's not bringing more peace.
People put
Let's
pressure
bring more
on you.
conflict.
You should make a statement. You not making a statement is proving you're
yeah,
guilty
yeah,
of that very thing.
Right. It's got people feeling all kinds of stress, anxiety, and it's not solving the problems.
Yeah.
His idea was very different. His idea is, let me really study up and understand someone and come and approach him in a friendly way. Even, Ku Klux Klan, I mean, that's just about a straight out, a straight out hostile, racist, bigoted.
We throw this word we throw the word racist around very cheaply,
But
if you like a video, oh, you're a racist for liking that.
Yeah.
What are you
This is a
about?
KKK
This
member.
is an actual card carrying Ku Klux Klan.
And here's someone that has not only putting out the talk, but 200 people that were deeply invested in it have walked away from it. There's something to learn in how this man's, chosen to operate.
Also, Kostu, when you read it to me, by the way, someone who was it? Someone said on the message board that this person was on Joe Rogan as well.
Oh,
Tim O'Reilly said he was on Joe Rogan. It just shows how these personas that we're so locked into. I am Roy Capo, or I am of this religion or of this faith or of this nationality or of this political party with this political agenda, how they're so fluid, actually. They're not in stone. And when we begin to hate, we forget that you're hating someone that it's almost an apparition you're hating. They're not, that being is not them.
It's a temporary mind state that they're in.
They're in right now.
Yeah.
And so if you don't like what they are, the best thing you can do is love them.
Like them.
Like them. And don't like what they are.
Yeah.
You hate the sin, not the sinner, right? Or it's the, you got the mean dog. How do you change a mean dog? By beating the mean dog and disciplining the mean dog? No, you love the mean dog.
Sure.
Then then all of a sudden the love manifests from that mean dog. So if you really hate what they're into, love them.
And he did that as well as he really learned about them. So like he put in the time, he put in the effort, he really found, and he could speak to them, and he just found a way to relate. I'm not suggesting that all the world's problems can be solved just by being friendly. But what I am saying is that his thing was real, and this idea, like we're reading about Chitraketu, who, he was cursed in a way that you could say was unfair and hostile and extreme. And he responded to it in a way that, if you took 1,000 people, how many would have responded to it like he did? Maybe zero, but he just said, I'm going to respond in a way that's, it's not like he was intentionally doing it in a way that was very different than anyone else, but he was doing it the way that his heart was motivated and the way that his mind understood things. Where most people would have lashed out, he came forward with just a completely detached and compassionate response. And not only did it kind of did in his own life did it manifest in a glorious way in his next birth as Vritrasura, but it actually changed the mind of Durga, who had cursed him like on the spot. She was just like, whoa. She stepped back and she reconsidered the whole thing that she just did in a really deep and sincere way. So what does that say about how we can respond to where we see? I'm not trying to categorize Durga's thing as like injustice or something like that, but when we see injustice, when we see hatred, when we see bigotry, it's. Do we really want to be? What we're doing? It does have more to do with ourself and how we feel about ourselves, or how we want to be perceived, or does it have to? Or do actually trying to change something?
Do we actually want to change something, or we just want to be perceived as?
Yeah. Right. Let's just keep responding the same way, just like pumping out statements on our social media, and as if
all of a sudden we find like the winds have changed. Oh, now it's bad to like those or oppose them. I'm taking it back.
I'm going to quiet for a little while.
Hold it.
And then when my head's been down low enough, then I'll come back out on the next topic. Yeah. All right. So anyway,
good morning, everybody.
Yeah. I just really had to appreciate that person,
that is
something special.
I love it. I love the fact that, some people they'll get off the exit there at hate. These guys, evil organization, I'll hate them.
Right.
And he just decided, no,
I won't hate them. Yeah.
I'm not going to hate them.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything. All you need is love.
Thank you. We're all good now.
Thank you.
All right. So you ready to get into it?
Yep. Narayanam namaskritya naram
Chaiva
kaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Nasta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Mandatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes. With the torchlight of knowledge, I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a new chapter, everybody. Canto 6, chapter 18, text 1. And the chapter is entitled Diti Vows to Kill King Indra.
Oh.
Mara, who's Diti? Yep, mother of the demons. Even demons have a mom.
And they vow to kill.
And even the mom is a little evil.
Okay. So, but actually, we're not going to read this chapter. We're just going to summarize it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. And I'll tell you why. So in one sense, we've practically come to the end of this canto, right? And I won't go into depth in it, but there are three big stories, and there are three big stories that were illustrating that the superiority, you could say superiority. People aren't going to like that word. We could say maybe triggers a little bit, but like we can say how pure devotion is more evolved than mixed devotion.
Okay.
And the idea being is that we commonly feel ourselves to be good people. So when we hear descriptions about devotion in these texts, we think, yeah, that's me. Right.
Yeah.
And what the Bhagavatam is doing in each of these cases is saying, actually, you really have to look into yourself. Yeah. And realize that pure devotion is a very high goal.
Very.
And in order to get there, you're going to have to root out all of the mixed motives that you have until there's nothing left but pure love. And so that was illustrated in you could say there are three conflicts: a conflict between the Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas.
No, which one?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Then there's a conflict between Daksha and Narada.
Yep, that was one.
And then the third conflict was between Indra and Vritrasura.
Yeah.
And now we've heard more about Vritrasura. We've gone to his past life. We understand how he became who he is.
Mm.
And now there's just a couple chapters left. Again, we see Indra put in anxiety, but it kind of ends. I'll be honest, I would really like to. I was looking in commentaries and I wasn't able to dig up very much, but it ends with part of what's being done is what happens occasionally in the Bhagavatam. And this is where sometimes we've kind of skipped over a little bit because this is a long chapter that's describing this person had 3 sons and 2 daughters, and this one gave birth in this direction, and that one gave birth, and we keep going down. But in what it does is it kind of gives us a preview of who we're going to be hearing about later in the Bhagavatam.
Right.
And so there'll be a list of, like a whole family tree coming down, and you'll hear a list that includes like 60 names, and like 8 of those names are going to become really important figures later in the Bhagavatam. So we hear about the 2 sisters, Diti and Aditi, and the family trees coming down from each one. Diti, as we've mentioned already, she from her is coming a dynasty of Asuras, or those that are opposed to Vishnu.
Mm.
And her sister Aditi is giving birth to the Devas, who are, they work on behalf of Vishnu, maintaining universal order. Right.
Holiday parties must be tough with those guys.
Yeah.
Let's get. Oh, the demons are coming over for Christmas.
Well, you do get in the box, and that's what we're going to get in.
What do you get the demons for Christmas?
But
they're going to take it.
we will hear about like the Asurs and the Devas having to work together, like in the eighth
Right.
canto, when they have to churn the ocean milk, which is one of the most fascinating passages in the Bhagavatam.
Mm.
And we should hit that sometime in the second half of next year, or this year now. But in any case, in this chapter, Diti vows to kill King Indra. We hear about how Brigu is going to take birth. You know, Brigu, one of the most important sages.
You know, Kostub, before you even get on with this, you know, in one sense, if you were some historian and you were to discover this book, it's like, oh, this interesting tale. But this tale has been commented on by great masters for thousands of years.
Sure.
And now we're trying our best to comment on them using their commentaries.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things. There's so much more in this story than the story. And that's what's beautiful. That's why it's taking years to finish this book.
Sure.
Because the whole thing is almost like written in code. They have all these fantastic stories, and they're all meant to be like thought upon repeatedly. It's like with any, I mean, this is the king of all great books. It's the Gruntaraj. But any good story, it's like you read it, you read Moby Dick, you know, you read, you know, yeah, it's
Read it again.
different things start to, as you churn it, different things start to manifest from it.
Yeah.
But when you get something like this, the Acharyas just like went through this again and again. There's so much to pull out of here. If you read it like a story, which people want, they want something abbreviated. Give me the essence of it. Give me the cliff notes. Give me there's like what's that? There's like an app that reads you the abbreviated book. I can't remember, but anyway, this you can't do that. You don't want that. You want this longer. You want to stretch it like taffy and pull as much out of it as you can.
And even we've been in 4 years and we're not halfway through.
Yeah.
It could be stretched far more than what we're doing.
I mean, there's people that take one story and go on for a month of the chastisement of Kalia.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure. Okay.
All right.
So some of the people that we hear about being born in coming down from Aditi, the mother, you know, the patriarch, I guess, or not matriarch of the Devas. We hear about the sage Brigu, who's born of Varuna. We hear about Valmiki, who's also the son of Varuna. We hear about Agastya and Vashishta, 2 sons of Varuna and Mitra. And then Aditi has 12 sons. One of them is Indra, and who's the 11th son. And then by his own powers, Krishna appears in that dynasty as Vamanadev. And so we're going to hear a lot about Vamanadev, and we're going to hear a lot about Indra going forward, and Agastya and Vashishta and Valmiki and Brigu. These are all important names too that pop up here and there. Then we hear, interesting, you know, from Diti, some really big names that are going to be, especially one of them is going to be playing out in the next canto. But we hear, you know, her initial sons were Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. We've heard about Hiranyaksha in the 3rd canto. We're going to hear about Hiranyakashipu in the next canto. He's like, you know, the most, you know, aggressive, you know, most aggressive Asurs, powerful Asurs. And from his wife Kayadu, he gives birth to Prahlad. So Prahlad is born in the family of the demons, but he's the greatest of the Bhakti yogis, right? He's like so special. And so the whole next canto has so much to do. It's a story of Lord Nrsingadev, Krishna appearing as the lion, man lion. But really, Nrsingadev he just says like not that many verses in the course of 7 or 8 chapters. It's really about Prahlad. It's really about the devotee of Vishnu that we learn from. So we'll hear about Prahlad. We hear about, did you know that Prahlad had a sister named Samhika, and she bore a son by the name Rahu. And so we're going to hear about Rahu in the
that's the name of my masseuse.
Really? Rahu?
Yeah, Rahunath.
Really? Okay. And you sure you're getting you sure you want
yeah, he's
okay. It's good. Okay, then Prahlad's son is known as Virochana, and his grandson was known as Bali Maharaj. And so Bali becomes an important character that we're going to read about. Bali had 100 sons, and one of them was Banasura. He also will come up in the 10th canto. After describing the dynasty of the Adityas and the other demigods, Shukadev Goswami describes Diti's sons, known as the Maruts. That's the second half of this chapter, and how they became elevated to the positions of demigods. They were born in a demon womb, but they all became devas. And let me just read the
I'd
summary.
love to paint a wall of my house of the family tree of the Bhagavatam.
Go for it.
You know, just to like, that could be your meditation. Oh, that's where it's coming from. That's, you know,
It would be several trees.
several
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah.
It's the fact that they even list them.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, this is how Prabhupada summarizes the rest of this part. He says that from the beginning, after describing the dynasty of the Dityas and the other demigods, Shukadev Goswami describes Diti's sons, known as the Maruts, and how they were elevated to the positions of demigods. Just to help Indra, Lord Vishnu killed Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu.
Mm.
He did that as he did it as Nrsingadev and as Lord Boar, right? As the divine Boar incarnation. Okay. Because of this, Diti was very envious, and she was eager to have a son who could kill Indra. Indra was the cause of the death of my sons.
Mm.
So by her service, she enchanted Kasyapa Muni. Kasyapa is the husband to both Diti and Aditi.
Mm.
And she just served him and charmed him and satisfied him so much that he was like, tell me how,
What
how
do you
can I
want?
reciprocate?
What do you
Yeah, he kind of promised. So by her service, she enchanted Kasyapa in order to beg from him a greater son to do this. In corroboration of the Vedic injunction, Vidvanksam api karshati, Kasyapa Muni was attracted to his beautiful wife and promised to grant her any request. When, however, she requested a son who would kill Indra,
Ooh.
he condemned himself.
What have I done?
What have I done? And he advised his wife Diti to follow so this is what he does. He's not going to break his word.
Right.
Right. These sages, they don't do that kind of thing.
Right.
They take their word very seriously.
Yeah.
Once I've given my word, there's no question of breaking my word.
Yeah. He just laments a little.
He laments,
Laments a little.
but then what he did was he said, okay, in order to do this, you need to perform a particular ritual. And this ritual is something that would get her mind absorbed in a particular way.
Mm.
Okay, so he says, he advised his wife Diti to follow the Vaishnava ritualistic ceremonies to purify herself. I guess what these last two chapters are illustrating is that even if your devotion is mixed,
Mm.
if you apply yourself in the right way in acts of devotion, that you become purified still, right? That it's not that's not the aim. It's not the ultimate aim to have to approach God for the things of this world. But if you begin to speak of God, think of God as He is, serve God, then you become free of those lower desires eventually. That's kind of what plays out in the next two chapters. So she's got that. I got this desire. I want a son that can kill Indra. He gives her rituals that are like Bhakti related rituals that get her meditating on Lord Vishnu and serving Lord Vishnu. And she becomes purified of her lower desire. So he advises her to follow this Vaishnava ritualistic ceremonies to purify herself. When Diti, following the instructions of Kasyapa, engaged in devotional service, Indra could understand her purpose. She's out to get me. She wants to have a son that can kill me. And as usual, he's in deep anxiety.
Mm.
He starts to do all kinds of things because he's afraid he's going to lose his position. One day, Indra had the opportunity to see her deviating from devotional service. So the idea was, it was a very elaborate ritual that goes on for like a year. And if you make one little mistake, then rather than have a son that would kill Indra, she would have a son that becomes a friend of Indra.
Mm.
And so Indra was like right there, like, like he became her servant in disguise, just waiting, waiting for when and then one day she like didn't wash her hands before she went to sleep or something like that. And that gave him the ability to kind of like, with his own mystic power, enter into her womb.
That old trick.
Yeah. And he gets in there, and well, let me read how it's summarized. Okay, one day Indra had the opportunity to see her deviating from devotional service. Thus, he entered her womb and cut her son into 49 parts. In this way, the 49 kinds of air known as the Maruts appeared. But because Diti, so they kind of said, Indra, what are you doing to us? And they all kind of became friends, right? Because she broke the ritual. So she gives birth to 49 sons. Let me just continue this.
I think this is where the word marut comes from. I think it means something like I'm crying or something. Have you heard that, Tara?
We were talking about the Maruts just yesterday, Tara and I.
Yeah, you talking about
Among the Maruts, I am.
Marichi.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, okay, so he writes, but because Diti had performed the Vaishnava ritualistic ceremonies, all the sons became Vaishnavas. And not only that, but when she saw that she had 49, she kind of woke up and she saw she had 49 sons and they're all there and they're friends with Indra. She became pleased with Indra.
Okay.
Right. And so the whole thing, it was kind of like you had a really bad motive, but you engaged in acts of bhakti and you were able to let it all go. Right. You became purified through it. I think that's kind of what's being illustrated in this. The next chapter, which we'll read now, has to do with the question will be, well, what was the ceremony? What were these rituals that she was doing? I'm interested in hearing about those. What prayers did it involve and so on. And so now we read that in the final chapter of this canto.
You know, you could say that I'm sure you know some people who engage in acts of bhakti with material motives.
Sure.
And they get purified by them. You've probably seen people like that.
I'm hoping to myself someday.
But people, sometimes I'll even tell my kids, okay, you learn those shlokas and I'll give you a reward. Or
yeah.
People
yeah.
Stuff like that. And or you practice mridanga, or you do that with kids, or you do it with, I don't know, who else would you do it for? Maybe a kid wants to get some money. But eventually they get purified just by associating with it.
Yeah. And we saw that's what happened with Dhruva back in the fourth canto too. Right. Okay. So this is Prabhupada's going to say at the beginning of chapter 19, this chapter explains how Diti, Kasyapa Muni's wife, executed Kasyapa Muni's instructions on devotional service. And it describes this particular vow that she took. And it said that this vow destroys cruelty in the heart and it pleases Vishnu. So even if your entire motive is impure, it purifies your heart and it pleases Vishnu. So we're going to hear about that now. Chapter 19.
Chapter 19.
You scroll down to the bottom, all the way. Keep going, all the way. You got many verses to go through. Here. Yeah. Keep going. Doesn't matter. Just keep going. There you go. Now hit next.
Gotcha.
Right.
Performing the Punksavana ritualistic ceremony. It's text 1. Maharaj Pariksit said, "My dear Lord, you have already spoken about the Punksavana vow. Now I want to hear about it in detail. For I understand that by observing this vow, one can please the Supreme Lord, Vishnu." Sukadeva Goswami said, "On the first day of the bright fortnight."
Yes.
The bright. I'm thinking about the bright. Oh, that's for the fortnight. The bright fortnight. That's the full moon.
I suppose bright would mean as it's getting brighter.
Yeah, as it's getting brighter.
The waxing.
Yes.
As opposed to the waning moon.
The bright fortnight of the month of Agrahayana, November, December. Following the instructions of her husband, a woman should begin this regular devotional service with a vow of penance, for it can fulfill all of one's desires. Before beginning the worship of Lord Vishnu, the woman should hear the story of how the Maruts were born.
Okay.
Under the instructions.
Last chapter.
Under the instructions of a qualified Brahmin, in the morning she should wash her teeth. Wash her teeth.
Wash them.
Probably.
They
pre-toothbrush.
Yeah.
So they just wash them. Bathe and dress herself with white cloth and ornaments. And before taking breakfast, she should worship Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi.
So now we're going to hear the prayers with which she'll worship Vishnu and Lakshmi. And this is part of the idea. We say that Vyasa's literature is divided into 3 different parts, right? There's the Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and you could say Bhakti Kanda, Upasana Kanda. And as you evolve higher in them, you look back at the other ones and see they're not so important, right? Like the motive behind them is not so important. But this kind of shows how it can work. She's got a materialistic motive for doing this ritual, but it's going to get her meditating and thinking of Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi as a devotee.
Mm.
And so it's educational and it's habit forming, you know. So now we're going to hear the prayers that she says to as part of this ritual to Vishnu and then to Lakshmi.
Okay, so this is text 4. You should then pray to the Lord as follows. My dear Lord, you are full in all opulence, but I do not beg you for opulence. I simply offer my respectful obeisances unto you. You are the husband and the master of Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, who has all opulences. Therefore, you are the master of all mystic yoga. I simply offer my obeisances unto you.
I mean, I suppose if you do that, but you're doing it with a deep desire, you're realizing how your desires unharmonious with the spirit of devotion, is out of harmony with the spirit of devotion, right? Because you have to say something that you don't really feel, right? I do not beg you for opulence. It's kind of a little bit, a little bit.
Stop. Oh, my Lord, because you are endowed with the causeless mercy, all opulences, all prowesses, and all glories, strength, and transcendental qualities, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, the master of everyone. After profusely offering obeisances unto Lord Vishnu, the devotee should offer respectful obeisances unto Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and pray as follows. O wife of Lord Vishnu, O internal energy of Lord Vishnu, you are as good as Lord Vishnu himself, for you have all of his opulences, all of his qualities and opulences. O goddess of fortune, please be kind to me. O mother of the entire world, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My Lord Vishnu, full in 6 opulences, you are the best of all enjoyers and the most powerful. O husband of Mother Lakshmi, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are accompanied by many associates, such as Vishvakshena. I offer all paraphernalia for worshiping you. One should chant this mantra every day with great attention while worshiping Lord Vishnu with all paraphernalia, such as water for washing his feet, hands and mouth, and water for his bath. One must offer him various presentations for his worship, such as garments, a sacred thread, ornaments, scents, flowers, incense, and lamps.
So this is describing one of the limbs of bhakti, which is archana. That it's a way of cultivating a mood of service, kind of habituating your mind to identify service as pleasing and satisfying and beautiful and so on.
Sukadeva Swami continued. After worshiping the Lord, with all paraphernalia mentioned above, one should chant the following mantra while offering 12 oblations of ghee on the sacred fire. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Mahavibhuti Pataye Svaha.
Got nice and nasally there on that one, Radhanath.
Yeah.
That's how you do. Okay.
If one desires all opulences, his duty is to daily worship Lord Vishnu with his wife Lakshmi. With great devotion, one should worship him according to the above-mentioned process. Lord Vishnu and the goddess of fortune are all immensely powerful combination.
Power couple.
They're a power couple.
Immensely powerful.
Yeah. They're like, let's not get into it.
Okay.
They are the bestowers of all benedictions and the sources of all good fortune. Therefore, the duty of everyone is to worship Lakshmi Narayan. Ooh. Text 10. One should offer obeisances unto the Lord with a mind humbled through devotion. While offering dandavats by falling on the ground like a rod, one should chant the above mantra 10 times. Then one should chant the following prayer. My dear Lord Vishnu and Mother Lakshmi, goddess of fortune, you are the proprietors of the entire creation. Indeed, you are the cause of creation.
You're trying to turn this into
a Christian mass. Mother Lakshmi is extremely difficult to understand because she is so powerful that the jurisdiction of her power is difficult to overcome. Mother Lakshmi is represented in the material world as the external energy, but actually she is always the internal energy of the Lord. My Lord, you are the master of energy, and therefore you are the supreme person. You are sacrifice, yajna, personified. Lakshmi, the embodiment of spiritual activities, is the original form of worship offered unto you, whereas you are the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Mother Lakshmi, who is here, is the reservoir of all spiritual qualities, whereas you manifest and enjoy all these qualities. Indeed, you are actually the enjoyer of everything. You live as the super soul of all living entities. The goddess of fortune is the form of their bodies, senses, and minds. She also has a holy name and form, whereas you are the support of all such names and forms and the cause of their manifestations.
So as you're doing this every day for like a year, you're beginning to think, okay, I'm praying every day, Lord Vishnu, you're in the heart of every living being. And at the same time, I want to kill one of the people that
Sure.
whose body you live
It
in.
goes ill against
Yeah.
what you're actually doing.
Yeah. So it's meant to purify you of that. You are both.
14. You are both the supreme rulers and benedictors of the three worlds. Therefore, my Lord, Uttama Shloka, may my ambition be fulfilled by your grace. Text 13. 15. Sukadeva Goswami continued. Thus, one should worship Lord Vishnu, who is known as Srinivas, along with his mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune.
Not his mother, but Mother Lakshmi.
But Mother Lakshmi. By offering prayers according to the process mentioned here. After removing all the paraphernalia of worship, one should offer them water to wash their hands and mouths, and then one should worship them again. Thereafter, with devotion and humility, one should offer prayers to the Lord and Mother Lakshmi. Then one should smell the remnants of the food offered, and then again worship the Lord and Lakshmi. Accepting her husband as the representative of the Supreme Person, a wife should worship him with unalloyed devotion by offering prasad. The husband, being very pleased with his wife, should engage himself in the affairs of the family. Between the husband and the wife, one person is sufficient to execute this devotional service. Because of their good relationship, both of them will enjoy the result. Therefore, if the wife is unable to execute this process, the husband should carefully do so, and the faithful wife will share the result. One should accept this Vishnu Brata,
Vow.
which is a vow and devotional service, and should not deviate from its execution to engage in anything else. By offering the remnants of prasad, flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, and ornaments, one should daily worship the brahmanas and worship women who peacefully live with their husbands and children.
Okay, so that means you've done this ritual using all these nice things like sandalwood pulp, which has a beautiful aroma and cooling effect, garlands of flowers, different offering food and so on. And then when you're done with the ritual, then you go out and find worthy people to kind of share that with and show your respect to them as well, right? It's not just like me and God,
Right.
but
Right.
it's me and it's me seeing everyone as connected to God.
The blessings of these other great souls out there.
Yeah. Every day.
Every day, the wife must continue following the regulative principles to worship Lord Vishnu with great devotion. Thereafter, Lord Vishnu should be laid in his bed, and then one should take prasad. In this way, husband and wife will be purified and will have all their desires fulfilled. The chaste wife must perform such devotional service continuously for 1 year. After 1 year passes, she should fast on the full moon day in the month of Kartik.
Okay. That's the Rasa Purnima there.
Yeah. On the morning of the next day, one should wash oneself, and after worshiping Lord Krishna as before, one should cook as one cooks for festivals, as stated in the Griya Sutras. Sweet rice should be cooked with ghee, and this preparation, and with this preparation, the husband should offer oblations to the fire 12 times.
And that's tough throwing that sweet rice into that fire, but
Yeah, it's like,
it's the right thing to do.
I just made it. I had this ahimsa ghee. Thereafter, he should satisfy the Brahmins. When the satisfied Brahmins bestow their blessings, he should devotedly offer them respectful obeisances with his head. And with their permission, he should take prasad.
Okay.
Before taking his meal, wait a second, you just said take prasad. Before you take your meal, the husband must first...
We're gonna start off.
But wait, there's one more instruction. Before taking his meal, a husband must first seat the acharya comfortably,
Okay,
and
the
along
teacher.
with his relatives and friends, should control his speech and offer prasad to the guru.
Okay, so yeah, more and more respect, right?
Yeah. And the wife should eat the remnants of the oblation of the sweet rice cooked with the ghee. Ah, she gets it. Eating the remnants ensures a learned, devoted son and all good fortune.
Okay.
All right, it's 29. I think we gotta.
No, we're going to finish the chapter. 2 more verses.
All right.
We're going to finish the canto.
We're gonna finish the canto. All right, let's do it. If this vow or ritualistic ceremony is observed according to the description of Shastra, even in this life, a man will be able to achieve all the benedictions he desires from the Lord. A wife who performs this ritualistic ceremony will surely receive good fortune, opulence, sons, but I wanted a daughter, and a long living husband. I wanted him dead. A good reputation and a good home. If an unmarried girl observes this vrata, she'll be able to get a very good husband. If a woman who is a vira, one who has no husband or son, executes this ritualistic ceremony, she can be promoted to the spiritual world.
She doesn't need a man.
Who needs it?
All right.
A woman whose children have died after birth can get a child with long duration of life and also become very fortunate in possessing wealth. If a woman is unfortunate, she'll become fortunate. And if ugly, she'll become beautiful. All right. By observing this vrata, a diseased man can gain relief from his disease and have an able body with which to work. If one recites this narration while offering oblations to the pitas and the demigods, especially during the Shraddha ceremony, the demigods and inhabitants of Pitri Loka will be extremely pleased with him and bestow upon him the fulfillment of all desires. After one performs this ritualistic ceremony, Lord Vishnu and his wife, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, are very pleased with him. O King Prickett, now I have completely described how Diti performed the ceremony and had good children, the Maruts, and a happy life. I've tried to explain this to you as elaborately as possible.
Thus ends
it.
the whole canto.
Thus ends the whole canto. Next canto.
Yeah.
Canto 7, the science of God. Miss Mara, tell us what we can take away from this. My knees are killing me.
Have the microphone. Want to change the world? Change yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You okay?
Yeah. Creaky.
Radhanath Swami's internal purity is changing the world externally.
No.
Understanding and respect leads to change. When the talking ceases, the ground becomes fertile for violence.
Keep talking.
Keep talking. That's why I'm always talking.
Is that why?
Yeah. The takeaway from that is talk, everybody. Just talk. Keep talking, even when there's nothing to say.
I'm not sure if that's what it meant.
Said so.
That was in the
was
Bhagavatam.
pretty
That was
Bhagavatam.
NPR.
Hate what they're into, love, relate, and learn.
Okay.
Like that.
Love, relate, and learn.
Does our reaction have to do with how we want to be perceived or making real change?
Oh, got to look within a little bit there.
Devotion. Devotional service purifies our desires.
Yes, it does.
See everyone as connected to God and seek the blessings of great souls.
Worth seeking.
Blessings.
And
There's something to sing.
you might have something. Vishnu and Lakshmi are the original power couple.
Vishnu and Laxmi. Thanks everyone for joining us. Sing a song. Remember that song? Sing a song. Sing a song. Sing out loud. Sing out strong. Sing of good thing. I felt like, well, okay, we'll sing one then. We'll just sing about singing. Just sing a song. Come on. Classic Disney. Sing a song. It's like Jiminy Cricket or something. Make it simple to last your whole life long. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Despite we're in India, I guess that's not making much of a difference. We're doing it at your time. You're not following us to our time, but you're here showing up, Zoomers. Thanks to all the others out there. There is no show tomorrow. We call that catch-up time. Catch up to listen to episodes you missed. There's a handful, and I'm looking at some right now who never missed an episode. I find that very fascinating. We are thousands of episodes in. We met a nice guy who's here. What's his name? From New York. He's like, I'm 700 episodes in. Ryan. We have Ryan's here with us. 300 hours. 700 episodes in. Hello, Jay.